Live. What the fuck?
Man, we are live. This is
Uh-oh.
serious.
This
This is
is
really
serious. Yeah.
serious.
Okay, now you wanna explain that again to me, Scott? No, the whole thing. Okay, Robert Sapolsky
Uh-huh.
explained to you that we have two sets of nuts. Explain that again to me, Scott.
I don't I
The
don't
whole thing.
I don't think Robert Sapolsky explained it to me. It was actually one of his teaching assistants who was doing the what they called some sort of catch-up class, some catch-up lecture
Right.
to kind of go over the basics of neurology.
Yeah.
Just simply mentioned that the amygdala is two almond um, shaped objects on either side of the brain that connects the or is at the end of the hippocampus.
Yep. Yep.
So, I just made the observation that means that men uh, or people presenting, I don't know how to, I don't know how to correctly um, express it, but basically, males have two sets of nuts. There's the testicles, which is important in the formation of behavior biologically, and then the amygdala. So
Was that endocrinology? That one? Uh, this one here. Oh shit! This guy. Let's see. Yeah, the student. That guy.
not that guy.
Not that guy.
The guy. I think the first guy that you see.
Oh, this guy. He's got a pretty wild hairdo.
No, I'm talking about the guy in the. It might be the guy before him. Uh, Short-haired guy,
Oh, there's a
dark hair.
there's a lot of guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of teaching assistants, and basically that's the guy who
That guy.
mentioned that we had the amygdala and it was almond shaped. I believe. I think there might have been a speaker before him.
And your hypothesis is that this is the second set of nuts. So I'm wondering, how did you get there?
Well, it's a pair of them, and they're
Okay.
almond shaped.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you got a parathelmi. That means there's a lot of little fight. Yeah. We got a lot of nuts. We got a
Now,
lot of nuts.
the thing is, we call testicles nuts, and they're not literally nuts. They just resemble a nut-like object, just like the amygdala.
How
So,
long have they called them nuts? Uh, let's ask ChatGPT. How long have nuts been called nuts?
I don't know. It's probably ever since humankind has harvested nuts that came in pairs from trees or from the ground, which would be what, legumes. Um, I don't technically know that. I'm not a plant biology student by any means, but at any rate, it was a childish thing to note. But in my defense, it was like 5:30 in the morning.
Well, you might actually have something there because the amygdala, causes a lot of aggressive and
Yeah, I
fearful.
hear the amygdala is highly important.
But I'm stuck on this. When did we start calling them nuts things? Because, presumably, primitive man didn't go and rip the ball sack off other guys and check to see that they look like the walnuts we just picked.
I
So,
think primitive man ripped the ball sack up off of other guys and then just
wow.
happened to notice.
The
Well, in
term,
combat, in warfare, I'm thinking a lot of ball sacks got ripped off of
yeah.
men's crotches. So there's been plenty of opportunity for humans throughout prehistory to observe. No, not the amygdala. I don't know, like what kind of care you have to take to, see inside a brain in order to notice the amygdala. Um,
Yeah,
it
to
is
give
covered by apparently like 90% of our brain is something called, is it glia?
yeah. Yeah, good.
And it's
Real stuff.
basically I think in some sort of waste and regulatory control of
Insulation,
yeah.
regulatory control, repair. I mean, but they're finding out a lot more about the surrounding glial cells and finding out they also kill you if you get cancer in them really fucking fast. It's really a bitch of a kind of cancer. We got spooky and we got my god that or woolly. We can't go live without. I mean, guys, we didn't think anybody'd be listening to us, but to give you some idea of what ChatGPT thinks of the quality of our discussion this morning, it's pretty mum about the term nuts refers to testicles likely derived from the fact that they look like nuts. Language often uses metaphors. It doesn't have a whole lot to say, and it's not telling me historically when that popped up. Like oftentimes there'll be an author, that popularizes something. So hi, Wooly and Spooky. Anyway, okay, so we're talking about Robert Sapolsky, and so so you're on episode 10, 11, 12 of this already? You watched that much?
At least 9.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe more.
Yeah, I wonder if I got to link this. I'm trying to figure out how to link. It's really at Stanford. It's really hard to find a particular playlist because there are so many. But anyway, this is one of the more famous playlists of professors. It would be Sapolsky. And here he is. There's Robert.
Did anybody see it? It was posted. Nobody saw it?
Well, this was a very good lecture. This was
recognizing
it showed great teaching ability, and it really illustrated not only the strengths of scientific studies of different populations. It also showed some of the weaknesses. So this is a very good episode. I don't know which one it is, but it's
recognizing relatives.
Must be 6.
It is 8. Did you say 6?
I thought it was 6, but so it says 8.
It's 8.
Okay. I believe you.
What the hell? Copy video. Really weird. Sometimes OBS like paints my screen real slowly, but then the screen you're looking at, it paints okay. And YouTube started screwing up the save tab for saving things. You got the playlist? Good.
Yeah. Okay. I had it yesterday, but
let's see, lecture collection. Okay, yeah, this is a wonderful lecture collection for anybody. And the neat thing is that, okay, when you start listening to him and you go through the part where he gets into chaos theory, he explains very well. He gives you a really clear idea why people believe in evolution. And it's something that you'll never be able to get to with a creationist, because Rebecca will just say, oh, no, well, that's just a story. I'm not going to listen to you anymore. Like, I want to see a liver come from a non-liver, A liver or a non-liver has never given birth to a liver. And bang. But he does a really good idea of explaining how a lot of evolution, like particularly between humans and chimpanzees, was just different genetic, they call them cassettes. Mm-hmm. Like if you look at a gene regulatory region, okay, like one regulator will affect an entire group of genes, and they call that a cassette. So it plugs in a different cassette, and you end up with a pretty different kind of organism. And of course, natural selection has to guide that whole process, because a lot of cassettes are just going to end up, like you might put in, who the fuck, I'm trying to think, some really bad pop singer. Like you might put in one of those cassettes and you're just like, no, I'm not listening to that shit.
So who is in your opinion, a bad pop singer?
Just about most pop singers. Pick a pop singer. It's a bad pop singer. Bad pop singer. I don't know. What is that Rick Roll thing? Who the hell was that guy?
Yeah, Rick somebody.
Yeah, bad pop singer. Any pop singer is a bad pop singer.
Isley.
Yeah.
Rick Isley.
Is that his name?
Hmm.
You see, I've never heard of him.
I also put in the side chat the link
Fucking freezing in Glasgow.
to the book Determined.
Yeah. Oh, you
Which
put
is
that in?
Robert Sapolsky's upcoming book on free will.
You put that in private chat?
Side chat.
Oh, you put it inside chat. Okay.
I'm about to put in private chat.
Okay, I'll throw it in my description. Yeah. See, this is a conversation that Scott and I have every morning, except now we're pretty censored. I mean, you ought to hear us when we're not censored. It's fucking horrible, man.
Yeah, I'm a horrible man.
Yeah. Well, we're both horrible people. We'll just say any fucking thing to each other in the morning. Anyway, so I went for a really short run this morning for the first time in a long time. And man, old people can't run for shit. It was. I had to go like early in the morning before the sun came up because I didn't want my neighbors to see me. But goddamn, the sun had snuck up on me further than I thought. They said it was going to rise at like 7:20. I'm like, it came up sooner than that. I don't know. It was poking up. Anyway,
Well, it does start to shine before the sun comes up, and you can pretty well see at least 15 minutes before the sun comes up.
yeah, that was my problem. I underestimated that effect. And because to give you some idea how out of shape I am, I'm too embarrassed to run in front of my neighbors. God damn, I want to live in the country again. Of course, then a bear gets you. Da bear.
Or a rattlesnake.
Da bear. Yeah, rattlesnakes. Yes. Well, I was watching a cool thing about cats and rattlesnakes. And a rattlesnake would strike, and the cat just jumps out of the way. The snake can't get him. And then the cat whacks the rattlesnake. It's just like. So I guess cats can kill snakes without getting bit. They're quick little devils.
Well, and some animals, have immunities, certain immunities to snake venom or scorpion venom
Yeah.
that they've developed as a defense.
Yeah, some things do. Oh, where's... You got this guy.
Oh boy.
Alternative philosophical views. I thought this was pretty amazing. Let's see what he says here.
I think we can take it as a fact that materialism doesn't work. It's internally contradictory, empirically inadequate, doesn't have explanatory power, and leads to insoluble problems.
Yep, we just take that as a fact.
Just take it as a fact.
Just take it as a fact.
And Wu has he's an idealist, not necessarily a theist, right?
Yeah, he's got, well, okay. He believes in that nature is a universal mind. So that is a God, right? That's a definition of God that we need to get to. All people who believe in deities believe that God has a mind like ours. There's no getting around that. I don't think there's any form of a deity that isn't like, well, who was it? Did Jay tell me yesterday about a slightly different view of that? Like, okay, it's like, I don't know, you have to abstract away the idea of what a mind is so that it could be something that doesn't have time. It doesn't really think sequentially. It does everything all at once everywhere, which is the cosmos, right? I mean, I don't know. It's really hard to get your fucking head around what these guys are, how they think, about how they handle that, and they seem to take a lot of shortcuts.
Yeah.
He goes on about how materialism is just false, and we know that, because physics proves that it's false and all that bullshit. I don't know. Where the hell is he here? Okay, 441. He gets into panpsychism. And then at 6
I'm
foot,
sure there's a section somewhere where he actually explains himself rationally,
yeah.
but
Well, there's
I
one
haven't
place.
found it yet.
There's one. Let me see here.
The combinations of the marbles in my head
Maybe he means the almonds,
Uh,
the two almond-shaped objects in his head.
produce my consciousness, and the combinations of marbles in your head produce your consciousness separate from mine. Because the combinations of the marbles in my head produce my consciousness.
well, that's pretty honest, right?
Mine, mine is isn't marbles; it's crushed charcoal.
Ah, yeah, mine would have burnt charcoal with steak drippings. So
Probably so.
anyway, he's talking about okay.
And the combinations of marbles in your head produce your consciousness separate from mine. Because my marbles are spatially bound inside my head, and your marbles are spatially bound inside your head.
Ooh, so that explains it, doesn't it? That just clears it right up.
Is he talking about
Yep.
his definition or his view of materialism, or his view of mind?
Of idealism.
Okay.
His, yeah, what does he call it? What does he call his? I forget what the fuck he calls analytical idealism. So basically, he believes that there is a universe that everything's made of mental stuff. What the fuck is that exactly? What do they think that is? Mental stuff.
That's
Everything.
idealism.
We're
That's
not going to do.
Platonic
Yeah,
idealism with slightly dreamy words.
we're not going to define it. We're just going to say, oh, it's the mental stuff that we have. You know, it's like, oh, Scott, you have mental stuff along with the marbles in your head, and I have mental marbles in my head. And we all know what that is, so we don't even have to talk about it.
Right.
Yeah. So then, okay, so the entire cosmos is made of mental stuff. Okay. And then we are individual disassociated personalities, like we've gone through this psychological disease mechanism of isolating ourselves into just one part of the whole mental brain. And that's why we think we're individuals, but we're not. Which kind of pairs up with Buddhism a little bit, right?
That's what I was thinking, or Hinduism even.
Yeah, but he totally shits on all of that and makes it kind of like stinky.
Yeah.
I mean, it's his
Well, yeah, I'm not saying it's satisfactory or even explanatory appropriation of, a Hindu / Buddhist worldview. I'm just saying that it seems to smack of it.
Yeah, I think his big thing is, oh, materialism is just, false, and materialists suck and they're idiots, and we're so naive that we believe that there are objects outside of ourselves, and they aren't really objects outside of ourselves. They're they're they just appear to be outside of ourselves because we've been fooled into believing we are separate little containers with marbles in our head. But the thing is, when you think about idealism, I mean, it's like, let's see if we can fucking figure this out. I don't know. Maybe we can figure it out, Scott. You want to try to?
Yeah, let's rub our marbles together and figure something out.
Marbles together and figure something out. Okay, I got my drawing pad up now. Okay, so what we've got is the big mental. Okay, the big mental. And that's reality. It's all mental. Okay, it's made out of mental.
It's the great mind hive of the universe.
The big mental, yeah. And then we got our little, okay, me and you inside of our big mental, right?
Okay.
We're dissociated personalities, and you got like your thoughts inside of here, and your subjective. This is Scott, and
Right.
this is Mike. Okay, and then I got my subjective experience, and I can't see your subjective experience because somehow, like the way he explains it, is everybody knows what disassociative. What is it called in psychology? Multiple personalities, what they used to call it.
Well, here's a question.
Well,
Well, in the Sapolsky lecture that I've been listening to, and you've been listening to part of it again,
yeah,
if a person near you is under stress and feeling fear or whatever, your amygdala reacts to that, to something in their sweat that indicates that they're under stress. If another person is sweating, but they're not under stress, your amygdala does not react to that. So, and I don't even know that that's a subjective thing because that's just your biology responding. I don't know
right.
how conscious we are of it. In fact, I guess some people are more sensitive to the um, internal state of others and more aware that other people have an internal state. But that's kind of an indication that that it's not just subjective.
Well, let's see now. Okay, so there's little sweat things coming off of you, right? And,
Mhm.
and they go into my nose.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's an amazing thing too. Yeah, I'm like a babe, newly born, and I'm learning about neurology and endocrinology and how that works, and realizing that there are proteins that other people give off that may or may not fit like a puzzle piece with proteins that are in my olfactory system. And because of that, I know that they're related to me, or I know that they're scared, or and all sorts of things. But as far as knowing, would that be not be kind of an innate knowing where your amygdala fires, but
Yeah.
you're not conscious of it?
Yeah, it's a form of knowledge. Yeah, I think.
So it's an innate knowledge, but it's not consciousness.
Well, yeah, you can't really you don't yeah you don't recognize it as something that you would call out. Like if you see a cup, we know cups, right? So we can say, oh, that's a cup.
Yeah.
But if you're reacting to this kind of scent, you probably couldn't even put it into words what's happening to you. But you are in at some level aware of something happening to you. All of a sudden, somebody else is fearful, and you react to that fear by being fearful yourself, your amygdala.
Or at least just behaving cautiously.
Right.
I don't know how much fear in others that's made manifest simply through their pheromones or whatever, or whatever's in their sweat. Does that make me feel fear, or does it make me take up defensive postures without really realizing it?
Yeah, well, you're gonna feel something, obviously, because if you're in a fear state, your heart's gonna increase a little
Hmm.
bit, and there's going to be subtle things. So I mean, my theory is that you always feel all of that. There's no such thing as unconscious. What
Okay.
unconscious means is that you don't have words for that particular words or a quick template memory to
Yeah.
classify what's happening to you, right? But
No, yeah.
you're
No
experiencing.
explanatory utterance to account for what you've done or
Right.
are
Okay.
doing at that time. Yeah.
Okay, but we're trying to make sense of idealism. So,
Right. Yeah. So I once again I got us off on a sidetrack, but
well, no, this is a good track because
okay.
okay, so right here we have a cup, right, which is really badly drawn. I can't draw for shit, guys. So we
I
have a
recognize it as a cup.
okay, but it's in the big mind. It's a mental cup because
Okay.
neither you or I can see it right now,
All
right?
right.
So we can't see the cup right now. Not yet. Okay. And then, but it's in the mental mind. So in the same way, these little pheromones coming off of your fearful body. God, do we want to go there this early in the morning? Anyway,
How about
well,
fearsome? No.
yeah, little fear hormones are also in the mental mind, right? So they're just made out of mental, but they're in the big mental, the big mental up here, right?
So, are you saying that the median through which the Platonic ideals um, exist are in the universal mind?
Yeah, do we gotta go there?
We don't have
All the
to.
way to Plato? It's
Well,
like,
because you got a cup
okay,
just
okay,
floating
okay.
out, transcendent of the individual minds.
Okay,
So that seems very Platonic to me.
very Platonic. Okay,
But anyway, continue. There's a cup
fuck
and
Plato.
there's two brains.
He's dead. Okay, let's. Okay, okay, but these pheromones are also in the big mental. Okay, the big mental is mentaling them. That's why they exist, right? But now I smell them, right? So they, how the fuck does that? And now they're inside my mental, right? But they're not inside your. Well, I don't know what's inside your mental if you're giving off pheromones, but
You
but
don't
anyway,
you don't want to know.
I want to know what's in there. Okay, so now they're in my mental, and they're also in the big mental, right?
Yeah.
And you may not be aware of them yet. Of course, you may react to your own. Who the fuck knows? But you see, he calls this basically a real simple, much simpler than materialism. But I'm having a little trouble with that. Okay, so our dissociated. Okay, when these things like I don't even know what fucking pheromones are. I'm reacting to the
Hmm.
smell of them, right? And so that's what's happening inside my mental. Unless I were to get out some lab equipment, now my mental would be able to see these pheromones, right? And then figure out that they're affecting going through my nose and affecting my brain and ending up in some kind of new mental thing called fear. But now the big mind, the big mental has got to be feeling your fear and my fear at the same time. So the big mental has to have all our feelings in it, and we're just disassociated parts of it.
And that raises a good question: is does this big mental um, is it affected by our pheromones?
Right. Does it
And I wouldn't
smell?
think that Castro would think it is, but maybe he does.
Well, what the fuck would he say about that? Because, like, okay, if I'm feeling fear as a result of these pheromones, he would say it's just correlation, right? That the big mental would now be able to feel my fear too, because the big mental has to feel everything we're feeling. So it has to feel fear, okay? But it would just correlate because the big mental imagined pheromones coming off, going, transferring through the air. The big mental would have to imagine all the air molecules in between and all the currents, right? Because, obviously there's a wind blowing between us and it takes a minute or two for the pheromones to get to my nose. Then the big mental has to imagine my nose. And then the big mental has to imagine all the processing that goes on in my brain. And then the big mental said, oh, okay, there's some pheromones going into my mental nose that I just thought of. So all of a sudden, I'm going to manufacture a feeling of fear, but I'm going to do it inside of Mike. I'm not going to do it inside of Scott. He's already afraid. That's why he was sweating in the first place. Because there was a fucking rattlesnake there, right? Big
So
fucking.
rattlesnakes are made of mental stuff too.
Yep, they're made of mental stuff too. So, yeah, that's the other thing we have to add. Why are you afraid, Scott? Why are you afraid? So you're afraid because how do you draw a snake? Big snake. Let's see, big snake. He kind of goes in a coil, right? And he's got a tail. Yeah, big rabbit.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to
Big snake.
figure out a way to our pond. I'm just concerned it's going to get invaded
Snakes.
by snakes
Yeah.
every spring.
Is it because I've been freaking you out about snakes so much that you're you're over?
Well, you mentioned them, but then I keep thinking in terms of if the boys go out and
Whoops.
I think we're going to put a fence around the pond anyway, but I just wonder if there's a way to discourage snakes from going into the pond without putting toxic chemicals or whatever in the yard.
Mongoose. Yeah.
Get a mongoose. Yeah, I don't want to drown a mongoose though. Can mongoose swim?
They probably can. I don't know. Maybe you
Will
need,
they kill ducks?
maybe a beaver is a swimming mongoose. Maybe that's how beavers evolved.
It could be.
Could be the goose.
But anyway, so there's a snake.
Okay, you saw
and there's
snakes.
An
Yeah.
individual brain.
That went into your eyes, which the mental had to imagine because your eyes are part of the mental.
Yeah.
And then it went into your brain, which the big mental has to imagine. And then it caused fear. But I mean, that's all correlation according to Kastrup, right? That
So he thinks that matter is mental stuff, but so is mental stuff.
yeah, that's a problem.
My.
So I mean, has an idealist ever sat down and tried to fucking explain this kind of an interaction? Like you see a snake, you get really scared, goes through your brain, creates all these pheromones that start oozing out of your pores, travels through the fucking atmosphere on a little wind that's blowing from the southwest, and then ends up inside of my nose, goes through my processing system, just like the snake went into your amygdala. The pheromones are going to go into mine, and now I'm having this experience of fear, just like yours. But the big mental is having both of our experiences at once.
I would like to. Well, maybe I can just watch the videos that he did with the guy, but it would be interesting to have like Danny, who is we'll just consider him a professional philosopher.
Yeah.
Have him do like a video outlining the benefits of or the positive points of Bernard Kastrup's idealism.
Yeah, but who gives a shit about that? What's really important is how this.
Because I don't see it, and maybe there are people out there who can give a systematic, logical presentation of why Bernard Kastrup's point of view has merit.
Well, he thinks it has merit because, just like the Buddhists, okay, it does away with this idea of the self. Mm-hmm. And he also thinks it has merit because it does away with the idea of fear of death, fear of annihilation on death, that you're going to have this core self that is going to continue into the universe, that you're going to be, basically, you're going to join the big mental when you die, right? Which is kind of a Buddhist idea. Like, the Buddhist idea is that we worry about ourself because we have this overbearing rational mind that gets too concerned about self, and that becomes our karma or our habit. And when we die, that all goes away and we become part of the greater universe, right? But now he's saying something different than a secular Buddhist. He's saying that there is a core feeling of consciousness that at the at the core of it, you feeling fear over here and me feeling fear over here, that's all in some core thing, some substance called consciousness. So they reify this core consciousness, right? Like like right now I'm looking at my gun, I'm looking at my cup of coffee. Did I say that out loud?
Yes, you did. But in Texas, that's just howdy do.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's just an average morning. Got my gun, got a cup of coffee,
Yep.
got my Glock, I got a cup of coffee. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm looking at that stuff, so that's in my consciousness. But there's something else. I mean, without looking at the cup or the gun or feeling the fear or hearing your voice or anything. There's some core thing in consciousness. And my idea is a little bit different. Okay? Your consciousness is simply all of these different pieces happening, all these different pieces, right? And then it changes across time. Like now I feel, this set of pieces, and in a little while I'm going to see some other sets. Like I turn
Hmm.
my head, now I can see the cat over there. Now it's now it's a new piece, right? So that's consciousness. But what he's saying is that there is something it's like to be me that has nothing to do with what I see, what I feel, what I hear, any of those things. That there's a core. Okay, ask me about, or tell me what you think of that. Okay, this core thing that's there without any of the things you're conscious of.
So
Okay.
it's like a persistent core that kind of defies time and space.
I guess.
It's there. It's like saying, I'm still here. I think that's an illusion.
Yeah,
I don't think there's a core.
right. Therefore, you're an eliminativist.
Yeah, a core of self. But that's just intuitional to me, based on what I've read about, the brain and neurology, which is, yeah, I'm no expert out there, but yeah, I don't think there's a core because there are just patterns that persist that can be done away, with a bullet hole going, like a 22 bullet going through my brain a certain way, or a rod, like in the case of that one guy, the famous case where a guy got a rod through his head. Things can be done away
Phineas
with,
Gage.
and my core shifts.
Yeah.
And so if it can change like that, then there wasn't a core.
Phineas Gage was the
Phineas
quintessential
Gage.
quintessential asshole after he got a rod through
Yeah.
his brain. The asshole that we all know and have worked with in the past. Okay, that guy. Okay, but there's this, like, when philosophers talk about philosophy of the mind, they'll say what it is like to be me, what it is like. That there's something it is like to be me. There is something it is like to be a bat. That's Nagel. Okay, there's something it is like. But the something, is there something that it is like if you're not hearing, seeing, smelling, if you're totally cut off from all sensory input? You don't have proprioception from your body, you have nothing.
Hmm.
Okay, is there still something it is like to be you? And and I think where they get that idea is that every morning when I wake up, I within like a second, I start feeling like Mike. And I was like, oh, Mike, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do my Mike stuff in the morning, right? So we have this like self idea, right? Like we have this constant feedback loop that keeps building self in us all throughout our lives.
Hmm.
We have our episodic memories. We know what our body looks like because we're going to walk by a mirror on the way to the fucking toilet, and which is often the first thing we do. But why do we pee?
Why do we pee?
Yeah, in the big mental. Why did the big mental imagine that?
That,
Okay.
that's a great question.
Yeah, I'm a little off track here. Okay, I'll get back on track. So we build a sense of self, and we have this like absolute feeling because every morning we wake up and we feel relatively the same. Hey, it's James. Hey,
It is James. He has joined us.
I'm throwing a fucking link out there. Let's see. You see where I'm going with this? It's basically we have this sense of ourself that builds up in our lifetime over our lives, and we have this
Right.
strong sense of personal identity. And when these guys start blathering about what it's like to be me, that's what the fuck they're talking about. They're talking about this illusion of who I am, even though every 7 years, I'm a totally different set of atoms.
Hmm.
Every 5 minutes, I change my mind about something. Or, I slowly build, you're accumulating experience, but there is this core sense of who we are. The fucking government gives us a number called our social security number, and they put a name on our birth certificate, and we take that along with all the other things that we accumulate over a lifetime. Because that's what humans do. They accumulate fucking the past, right? In these constructs, and we build this whole self thing. But there is no core there. There's nothing there. When you go to sleep at night and you fall into a deep sleep, that is fucking gone. There's nothing there. I mean, nothing that you're doing particularly. Maybe there is some remnant. I don't know. I mean, when you're in deep sleep, your thalamus is disconnected from everything else. Basically, your thalamus goes into this.
Your system's offline for maintenance.
Yeah, it goes into this asynchronous state where it's not capable of basically processing input from your body. It has to be a really powerful signal in order to get through the thalamus and break through that asynchronous noise that's going on. Like your thalamus is like fucking, doing that. And there's a threshold, and it has to go above the threshold. That's why only loud noises wake you up. And then it starts the whole system waking up. But anyway, so first of all, for philosophy of the mind, there is no what it is like to be me without the contents of my consciousness. So, and there's a lot of contention, and there's a lot of books written about that particular idea. Is there anything left if you take away all of the content? According to Kastrup, no. Or yes. Yeah, there's this core, shit. But how the fuck does he reconcile that with you being a disassociated personality? He mentions it and he goes off on metaphors, but he never really quite digs into it. And he never does a diagram like this, where we're going to try to figure out for one. I call these things scenarios. Like what you want to set up a scenario and think about consciousness in that scenario, right? And so every time these fucking idiots start talking about philosophy of the mind, what you want to do is come up with a particular scenario. Scott Raw walks into a room. A rattlesnake surprises him. He gets scared.
You betcha.
Runs out of the room by me. His pheromones enter my nose. I have a fear reaction. I run out of the room with Scott. We're both running across the Texas plains. Presumably, are we naked?
No.
Okay, we have bathrobes on.
It's probably a good way to get shot in Texas. Run across the Texas plains naked.
We're running across the Texas plains with a rattlesnake chasing. Okay, so you present that to the idealist and you ask him to explain which part is in the big mental. Why would the big mental even fucking imagine this scenario? What is wrong with the big mental?
Yeah, I'm wondering. And then, of course, is there some ultimate destination where there's no longer mental physical stuff or physical mental stuff?
Yeah.
And it's all just one big mental without any individuated, isolated mentals.
Yeah, the other thing is that.
And then what's that supposed to be like?
Yeah, the big mental has to do like the entire fucking universe,
And will the big mental have my anxiety in crowds?
He has to, because it's part of the big all of our subjective experiences are in the big mental.
And will the big mental be better at the foxtrot than I ever was?
Well, there's a good question. Could the big mental run better than I ran this morning? Ooh, that's what I need to do when I go on my morning runs. Imagine I'm running from a rattlesnake. That'll get me motivated. Nothing more.
Now, one day, this was before my mother passed away a few years, and I was at the park next to her house, and I was running around this big track that they had out there, and I was running, and I looked and I went, "Oh, look, a stick fell from the tree and landed on the ground. How interesting!" And so I was running, and what I decided to do, there's a few things you can do when you encounter a stick. You can go to the left of it, you can run to the right of it, you can jump over it, because it's just a stick, and or you can, kick it off the path or whatever.
Fuck.
And it turns out
No.
I was in mid pounce and realized that's not a stick, that's a snake.
Oh,
And
no.
I did the biggest hurdle. It's like I was jumping, about to land on it, and then in midair I jumped even further. It's like I had a rocket on me.
What kind of a snake was it?
It was just your
Average snake.
average snake, but it could have been a water moccasin. I don't know what it was.
What the fuck was it up in a tree for?
It wasn't. I thought it was a stick that had fallen from the tree,
I see. Okay.
but it was just a snake that had crawled on. In other words, I didn't see anything fall. I just assumed it fell because it wasn't there before.
Usually your amygdala is responsible of the opposite effect, where you see a stick and you think it's a snake.
Yeah, but this was a trail in which I'd seen more deer than snake.
Well, your amygdalic nuts must be fucked up because
it could be.
Because you saw a stick or snake and thought it was a stick. It's supposed to be you see a stick and think it's a snake. So
Well, see,
maybe your amygdalic nuts had not descended yet.
In the big wild mental, I would have been eliminated from the gene pool.
Yeah.
Much sooner.
Yep. Oh, here's one of my diagrams. Okay.
That's a definite diagram. That's a really good cube.
Yep. And this is the me person, right? And what the idealists start out thinking, or a lot of philosophers of mind, a lot of physicalists, tons of people believe that when you see a cube, that you represent it inside your mind somehow. That you see the cube and then you come up with a representation, right? So it goes, hey, it's James. Okay. So as soon as they do that,
it's a James.
Good morning, guys.
Okay, and then they believe that you see the representation inside your brain. So like you've copied this thing with your visual system into your brain. Now it's a representation. Now you can experience it, right? And that's all wrong. And what that allows them to do is create the idealistic cut where they say, oh, maybe the thing doesn't exist at all and it's just the representation. We don't need the thing, right? We can just cut the thing off because we have a representation, a mental representation. And that's how idealists get started. This idea of representationalism, that we represent things inside of our mind, is automatically introduces dualism into your thinking. And this is one of the things that Dan Dennett is tries with his intuition pumps, tries to do away with. But anyway, how you doing, James?
Oh, I'm doing okay. I had just woken up. But the computer's right next to my bed. So when I first wake up, all I have to do is reach over and hit a button, and there you guys were. And I'm like, hey, well, here's the guys.
Wow.
What the hell are we doing?
All right. I've even got a swing arm from my monitor that lets me swing the monitor all the way up to my face if I want it.
That's convenient.
Yeah, convenience. The life of a bachelor, I can do all kinds of crazy shit that if I had a wife, she would not tolerate.
I got one of those in my library where I can swing a monitor out, and I had another Mac in there, and that's where I first started YouTubing from, is in my library. And I haven't used it since, and I feel real bad about it because it really is neat. It swings out on an arm. You can move it around. Kind of
Yeah,
cool.
I like it lots.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never mistaken it for a snake, so things are going well.
Nope. So your amygdalic nuts are functioning properly.
I think they're a bit too big. I trip on them pretty often.
Yep.
So my son has noticed that I'm awake, and he's like, "Take me to the store." So I might not be here for very long. By the time I get back, you guys will probably be gone already because you've
So
already
which
been
store
home.
does he want to go to?
What are you gonna do at the store? Yeah.
I don't know. He wants something from the store.
Ice cream shop?
I don't think it's ice cream. No, he didn't mention ice cream.
Well, you should go get a malt while you're out there.
Yeah,
Well, it's
maybe.
kind of early for that there, Speed, don't you
It is
think?
Saturday, but it's like
No.
9:50 in the morning, so I don't know.
Never fucking too early for a
9:30.
breakfast malt.
Breakfast malt.
You mean a
Heard of
Coronation
breakfast?
Instant Breakfast? Do they even have that anymore?
Breakfast malts, they must have them. I'm gonna go ask.
You should ask.
Could I go to
Wait.
McDonald's right now and order a malt? I can't order a hamburger.
Do they put scrambled eggs in a blender with ice cream? What's a breakfast malt?
Yeah. Well,
So
need
I woke up from a dream and I had a weird scientific sounding thing in my head. I'm like, that's not a thing. Why was I dreaming about that? Selective something. Oh my gosh, what was it now?
Well, so far you're sounding scientific. Selective pressure?
Selective histamine antagonist. That's what it was. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And where did I hear that phrase at? Why was that in my dream? Why didn't I wake up thinking boobies? Come on now.
Selective histamine?
Histamine antagonist. Why I thought that, I have no idea.
Yeah, it's a selective histamine H1 antagonist, and there's selective histamine receptor antagonists.
I'm blaming Mike for this. I'm blaming Mike for the fact that my dreams have science bullshit in them.
Okay.
It has to do with symptomatic treatment of seasonal allergic rhinitis and chronic idiopathic urticaria. I don't know what urticaria is.
Claritin, Benadryl, Zyrtec, selective histamine antagonist
You've been reading labels.
Maybe.
is a
I
type of
don't think so, though.
medication or compound that specifically targets and blocks the activity of his. You must have picked that up somewhere because
Or it's a
No.
direct message from the great big mental mind.
the great big mental broke through to you and told you about this science stuff that you didn't want to know.
Yeah,
Hallelujah.
it's got to be it. I'm like, come on, why? I haven't looked it up yet. Thank you for looking it up for me. It's quite often that I'll wake up from a dream, and I've got this word or phrase in my head that I don't recognize, and usually I do Google it to see if it's a thing, and usually it's a thing. So apparently, I've got a bunch of junk information in my head about science, and
Yeah,
I would say scattered information because I mean that's not junk science. That's that has to do with
well,
nature
sure.
and stuff.
But if I'm looking for antihistamines at the pharmacy, I'm not gonna be like trying to look for a sign that says selective histamine antagonists.
Well, there
Well,
are
maybe you should. Maybe that's what the great mental mind is telling you.
Yeah.
Okay, there are 4 different histamine antagonists, okay, and different drugs block different ones. So you got to be really careful which antagonist you select.
Yeah.
I say take all 4 of them, and you've covered your bases.
Yeah,
And
that's
you're
what I would.
drowsy.
That's what I would have done back in the day. I would have taken all 4 of them.
All four. Pink one, a blue one, a white one.
I am not a medical professional. Please do not heed any of my advice.
Nope.
All right, so I'm gonna go slip my shoes on and run down to the corner store with my son, and then I'll be back.
All
If
right,
you
well,
guys
y'all
still
enjoy
wanna-
that breakfast malt.
Get a breakfast malt.
Sure, why not?
Whatever that is. That sounds ghastly to me.
Yeah.
Why not? All right,
But
guys.
if you wait till after, like 12:30, it sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's always a good time for ice cream.
Holy shit! Doubting Thomas, 34th consecutive day without a cigarette. Way to go.
Wow, good job.
Keep it up, buddy.
Yep.
Keep it up.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
James, I
James.
hope you go 34 days without a cigarette as well.
But do not go 34 days without a breakfast malt. Never do that.
I would hate that for you.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go get a breakfast malt. I think I'm gonna go to the grocery store now. I gotta go buy eggs and celery. My chicken salad's not working for me. I'm rolling my own, and I
Well,
need.
celery and just about anything doesn't work for me. I know if it's steamed real well, cooked real well, it can be kind of softened.
No, I need it crunchy for my chicken salad because my chicken salad doesn't have a crunchy element. So I'm adding celery to give it a crunchy element, which is really important.
Well, I understand the importance of crunchy, so I get what you mean.
Mr. Crunchy. I think that's the name of a breakfast malt.
Mr. Crunchy.
Yeah, the Mr. Crunchy breakfast malt. Pretty sure. Pretty sure. I came up with an idea yesterday for a merch store. If we start a merch store, and I don't know if it's illegal or not, but in Minnesota, cannabis is illegal now. So I got a great thing we can sell in our merch store.
Yeah, I guess we could say available only in Minnesota,
In Colorado,
Colorado, blah blah.
Georgia, I think too. Georgia, you can buy it at a pharmacy in Georgia now, right?
But
Or no, is it North Carolina?
are you really going to turn down anybody who wants to order it from Texas? We just have to have them sign a statement saying that
Waiver.
they're only going to wear it when they're in Minnesota or Colorado or
Right. Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, they're going to get it from the mailbox. They're going to drive to Minnesota, and then they're going to eat it. Then they're going to drive back and deal with the rattlesnakes
Exactly.
and jump over the stick, which
Jump,
is not a stick.
jump over that stick. Just make sure it's not a snake.
Yep. And your amygdalic nuts will respond accordingly. And now I've wrapped the entire conversation up into one big ball of breakfast malt.
There you go. You've just gone to town on that breakfast malt thing.
Yep. Yep. Can you imagine if you opened your breakfast malt shake and a rattlesnake jumped out?
No, that's the thing nightmares are made of. There's been a couple of movies that have just made me really uncomfortable to the point of being afraid, and that's the ones where somebody chopped off the rattles of some rattlesnakes and put them in the cabinets. And then there's another one where they put the rattlesnakes in the mailbox.
Yeah.
And, that's just scary stuff. So I'm going to have this entire ritual when I open up the mailbox at the new place. First of all, I'm probably never going to get the mail. And when I do, I'm going to take a broomstick with me and very slowly from behind the mailbox where the door is facing a little opening is facing away from me, I'm going to just, knock it open with the broomstick and then see what pops out.
So we have something called a gopher snake here. Gopher snakes fake rattling to scare off predators. Gopher snakes will also try to fake you out of threat, and they may take a striking position. My cat had one in the yard, and it was coiled up like a rattlesnake, and it was striking at him.
Do y'all have rattlesnakes in Minnesota?
No, it was a gopher snake.
Wow, so gopher snakes act like rattlesnakes?
Yeah, yeah.
But then you don't have rattlesnakes.
They flatten their head, they hiss, and they move their tail around. They find some leaves or brush, and they will flick their tail back and forth, and it sounds like it's rattling.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
That is, but it's just kind of baffling that you don't have rattlesnakes.
We have
Otherwise, how would a gopher know to do that unless it learned to do the rattlesnake thing and then moved into Minnesota?
There was a rattlesnake that arrived on a barge here, and it unfortunately killed a child in St. Paul, Minnesota about 40 years ago, and I never forgot it. I never fucking forgave it.
Yeah.
It was a horrible thing.
See, the thing is, rattlesnakes, they don't care.
Here's the gopher snake.
You're never going to hear a rattlesnake say, "I'm sorry."
Chrome. Okay, there's a gopher snake on the right. Let's see here. Yeah, gopher snake. Did I go for snake? Yeah, gopher snake or rattlesnake. Know your snakes. That one is a gopher snake. So they get about 5 feet, something like that. I mean,
Now they don't have the diamond shaped head of like a pit viper, do they?
He looks like that. I don't know. That's not diamond shaped. Gopher snake spotted at Tom Joliet's condo. Watch while walking for sticks on the sidewalk that move. There you go, Scott.
There you go. Yeah. I'm here to testify that that could be a snake.
Yep, that could be a snake. Anyway, you learned something this morning, so we're gonna fucking end it here, I think, and I'm gonna go get some.
I'm looking forward to Tuesday when that book Determined comes out.
Oh, is that Tuesday? Cool.
Tuesday.
I'm going to get a breakfast shake, a breakfast snake, too. All those things. Okay, shoot her in the head, Scott.
That's fine. Yeah, let's go ahead and shoot
Yeah.
her in the head. And I just want to thank, if there's anybody still here, I
Yes.
just want to thank everybody for coming out so early to listen to us ramble on, ramble on, ramble on.
Ramble. I don't know. There's all this shit that goes through my head in the morning, and I just thought I would share it with everybody else so you could see how fucking crazy I am.
Well, I think a person should be themselves,
We should.
or let the great mind or whatever it is
The big mental.
be itself for you.
The big mental can be its disassociated self for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Embrace the big mental, everyone. Give the big mental a hug when you go out there, unless it looks like a rattlesnake.
Don't embrace rattlesnakes.
Don't
You'll
embrace
regret it
them.
every time.
Now,
They're
even
not. They don't get to be part of the big mental.
well, I think they are part of the big mental, but they're not the part that you want to hug.
They're the surly, unpleasant part.
Okay. Gonna end it, Scott.
That's a good idea.
Goodbye, cruel world.
Goodbye,
get that-
everybody.
Go get that breakfast